Hey everyone, I'm Carlo Larasso from Secrets of Home Theater and High Fidelity. And today in this video, what we have for you is the Technics SU-R1000 reference class digital integrated amplifier. The SU-R1000 digital integrated amplifier is a high-end component that boasts a host of connectivity, beautiful build quality, and judging by the bevy of acronyms in the technical literature, a boatload of new and interesting tech. Emphasis on the digital angle, but more on that as we get further into the review. So with an MSRP of $9,500 US, the SU-R1000 isn't exactly what you'd call an impulse buy. As we get deeper into the video, I'll give you my personal assessment of what I think of the design, the build quality, the connectivity and usability, and ultimately what I think of the sound quality. So, without further ado, let's get started. So let's get this out of the way at the get-go. I think the Technics SU-R1000 is an absolutely gorgeous piece of equipment. Incredibly elegant and understated. Visually, the VU meters are incredible bits of eye candy. But beyond simply the look, the build quality is equally phenomenal. Weighing in at over 50 pounds, the SU-R1000 feels substantial. All the touch points absolutely reek of quality. The volume control feels weighted, as if its motion is so smooth. It feels like it's built on a bearing. The input selector dial moves with a reassuring and confident click whenever it selects an input. It's industrial artwork. The fact that it feels this good to use is a testament to the care and intentions that the design and build team and engineers at Technics put into the SU-R1000. They wanted it to feel special, and it shows. And while the front fascia of the SU-R1000 is very clean and uncluttered, the engineers at Technics didn't forget to include a headphone amplifier. Classic. And speaking of the SU-R1000's remote, the included wand, just like the unit itself, is very elegant and substantial feeling. And it pretty much covers all the main and detailed features of the SU-R1000 at the push of one or a couple of buttons. It's a very nice looking unit, and it feels really good in the hand. Turning to the back side of the SU-R1000, you'll see there's 4 sets of high quality binding posts for either 2 sets of speakers, A or B, or for bi-wiring and bi-amping a single pair of speakers. There are 2 pairs of RCA analog line inputs, 1 pair of XLR balanced analog line inputs. The moving magnet and moving coil phono stage, which we'll get into more detail shortly, has both a balanced and unbalanced set of inputs. There are 2 sets of coax and optical inputs, and unusually 2 USB PC inputs. So you could hook up 2 separate streaming devices, a computer and a streamer, 2 computers, or any combination. The SU-R1000 has no built-in streaming, Ethernet, or Bluetooth facilities as it stands. You need a separate streamer. For you tape recorder or processor loop folks out there, the SU-R1000 does include a set of record out and in jacks, which is a rare sight these days. Also, there's a set of preamplifier out jacks to hook up a beefier power amplifier if you choose, or a subwoofer, for example, and a set of main ins to access the SU-R1000's amp directly from a different head unit. A USB charging / update port and 12-volt trigger control round out the backside. Turning to the guts of the thing, I said at the outset that Technics is very keen on the SU-R1000 being regarded as a digital integrated amp, and for good reason. Despite what you might think, the amplifier tech in the Technics SU-R1000 is not Class D amplification. And there's a bit of a misnomer. Class D amplifiers are not digital, regardless of the letter D in the name. They're actually analog amplifiers. They just use high-speed switching devices for the gain stages as opposed to linear gain stages that are traditionally found in Class A and AB amplifier designs. This makes Class D amplifiers lighter and more efficient because there are less losses to heat than traditional designs. That being said, the amplifier tech in the SUR1000 is not Class D. It is not analog. It is digital. Really, digital. Technics claims that all analog incoming signals are converted to 24-bit 192 digital signals by a high-quality analog-to-digital converter chip, courtesy of AKM. From there, all signals are then upconverted, manipulated, amplified in the digital domain, and remain digital through to the output at the speaker level. There is no digital to analog conversion at the output. So I'm about to hit you with a whole load of technical acronyms. I will do my best to go over the basics with you and try not to get too far into the weeds. I'm not an audio engineer, so I don't know how far into the weeds I can get anyway, but here we go. The GENO engine stands for Jitter Elimination and Noise Shaping Optimization. It is basically a high-quality, custom-designed jitter reduction circuit that Technics created, and it's used to help keep things free of distortion as signals are converted to digital, then upconverted and manipulated some more as they travel through the SUR1000's internals to get to their final destination at the output. The GENO engine keeps things clean and distortion-free. At least that's the intent. The next one is ADCT, which stands for Active Distortion Cancellation Tech. Think of it as a kind of negative feedback signal, but this one is not made up of the full music signal extracted at the amp's output, as traditionally is done with negative feedback. Instead, Technics uses the ADCT to isolate only the distortion portion of the output. It then feeds the inverse, or negative, of that back at the amp's input to cancel the distortion out. Next is AS2PS, which stands for Advanced Speed Silent Power Supply. The Technics SUR1000 has 4 independent power supplies using this special switching technology. There's one for the analog section, one for the digital section, and one more for each of the 2 output stages. LAPC stands for Load Adaptive Phase Calibration. This is where the SUR1000, using customized test tones coming from the unit itself, measures the impedance, phase, and output characteristics of the amplifier while it's mated to the speakers. The results are an ideal impulse response being created and stored for any given speaker. Here's a quick demo of it running. All in all, it's about 5 minutes from start to finish, and you can turn LAPC on or off on the fly via remote to compare. Next is the Intelligent Phono EQ system. Now this really isn't an acronym, but it's a special method Technics developed to digitally profile, EQ, optimize, and then store the characteristics of any phono cartridge using test tones found on a special calibration LP that's included with the SUR1000. Here's a quick demo of how it works. This is about a 10 to 15 minute process from start to finish, and the optimizations can be turned on or off on the fly as you're listening so you can compare the results. By the way, the SUR1000 has several phono EQ curves that you can choose from. Standard RIAA, Decca, Columbia, AES, IEC, NAB, and RCA. And just to round the design section off, a full list of the SUR1000's technical specs are available on the Technics website, but here are the main salient points for you to look over. I paired the Technics SUR1000 with a few different speakers, including the Revel Performa F228BE, the Atom GT2 HD, and the Sulk Song Towers. Other connected equipment included my Technics SL1200 Mark VI turntable, modified by KAB Electroacoustics, and my DIY Raspberry Pi based Roon endpoint. All cables were either by Blue Jeans Cable and Claris Cable. So cutting to the chase, the amplifier section of this integrated sounded just like any really high quality analog amplifier should. It wasn't overly warm or tube-like, or wasn't thin sounding or analytical. Bass was very solid and plentiful. The highs sounded very, very airy and sweet without getting, irritating, or I didn't find them grating in any of the music I was listening to. Mid-range and vocals sounded, very balanced and very appealing sounding. There was none of this, it's digital harshness that, some people might be thinking of, or not sort of juiced, artificial, fat, tubey sound or anything like that. None of that stuff. It just sounds like a really solid Class A, B amplifier. It is clean and musical enough, and yet robust and powerful enough to get the best out of my Revel F228BEs, my Sulk Song Towers, the Atom GT2 HDs that were here. All those speakers, the SUR1000 drove them to levels well beyond comfortable without showing any hint of distortion or distress. And on top of it all, the amplifier got barely warm to the touch while doing all of this. So it showed exemplary performance all the way around. Circling back to touch on the load adaptive phase calibration, or LAPC. It's really hard not to say LAPD, but in use, I found that the LAPC made a more or less a subtle difference in the sound of the speakers. When I compared the sound of the speakers with and without it on the fly by switching it on and off, I found that the biggest difference I noticed was that there was more of a focus in the bass frequencies. The bass frequencies in all of the speakers I tried it with seemed tighter, not quite as loose. This is an untreated room, so sometimes depending on the speaker, the bass can get more loose sounding in here. LAPC basically tightened the sound of the bass. That was the biggest thing I noticed, and for the most part I liked what it did, so I left it on for the majority of my listening. So from a digital source perspective, I use Roon to manage and listen to my digital music files. I installed the Windows driver for the SUR1000 onto my Surface tablet that the Roon core is on. Roon setup with Roon was extremely easy, without a problem. Spoke to my DIY endpoint. It spoke to the SUR1000. No problems. We recognized each other, and I proceeded to be able to feed every type of PCM and DSD file that I have in my library to the SUR1000, and it played them beautifully without any sort of hitch, no hiccups, no buffering, no nothing. It just worked and sounded absolutely spectacular. And if you care about such things, the SUR1000 will fully decode, unfold, de-origami, de-spirograph MQA files. So simply turn it on in the SUR1000 menu system and start sending MQA files to the SUR1000, and it will play them, and they will sound absolutely lovely. And so speaking from the analog or vinyl side of things, I had a really great time hooking up my granddad SL 1200 Mark VI to this, shiny little whippersnapper SUR1000. It was just fun having two Technics products of different generations working together, and they worked together harmoniously. There was no issue at all. Vinyl sounded fantastic through this system. As a concept, I think the idea of digitizing incoming vinyl signals into a product like this for manipulation, DSP processing, what have you, it's an idea whose time has come, and it's about time. NAD and Anthem do the same sort of things in their respective products to apply room correction. In this particular case with the SUR1000, it digitizes the incoming analog signals from your turntable so that it can profile and optimize the sound of the cartridge and, improve the sound of your vinyl overall. The results of using the intelligent phono EQ on the various cartridges I tried was very subtle. I mean, it was a definite improvement for the overall and then the main. The biggest thing I noticed was definitely a tighter sense of focus in the overall sound of each of the cartridges I tried. The amount of improvement varied from cartridge to cartridge. Really good flat measuring cartridges like my Audio-Technica OC9 ML/2. The difference was exceedingly subtle. That cartridge sample is really good to begin with, so it didn't seem to need a ton of help. Other cartridges was a little more pronounced. Another Audio-Technica one, the VM540ML, that cartridge has a very sort of euphonic sound signature. At least my sample does, and there's a lot of that sort of bloom and kind of that stuff that vinyl people love to hear. The intelligent phono EQ basically brought that down a little bit and focused the details and the presentation of that cartridge. Things were a bit more precise in space. I was able to detect positioning of instruments much better. I did miss that sort of euphonic sense because there was a good chunk less of that there. I missed that sort of bloom that cartridge puts out. But, sometimes I didn't. So it basically depended on my mood. And, the nice thing about the intelligent phono EQ is that you can turn it on or off on the fly. So, if I wanted to hear the warm and fuzzies, I just turned it off. If I wanted to hear more precise presentation with that cartridge, flicked it on. So I had the best of both worlds. But in the main, analog vinyl reproduction with the SUR1000 is served extremely well with the intelligent phono EQ facilities on it. So is there anything to complain about with the Technics SUR1000? I had a couple of nitpicks, if I'm going to be honest about it. The first thing is, in a component of this class, I would have liked to have seen an HDMI audio input of some sort. That, to me, would have just sort of completed the whole, digital thing of this of this component. It's billed as a fully digital integrated amplifier, and to me, that was the one thing I would have liked to have seen. Is it a deal breaker? No, but like I said, for this class of component, it would have been nice to see. The other issue I had was with this guy right here, the headphone section. For the most part, it was okay. There was plenty of volume. I have about a good dozen headphones here that I tried switching back and forth, and I tended to find that with a number of the headphones, there was a noticeable thinness or lack of bass in what I was hearing or what I was used to. And it wasn't enough of the headphones where it was definitely noticeable. Again, some headphones more than others, I noticed it, but it was a consistent thing among a few of the headphones I tried. I switched back and forth with my benchmark HPA4 just to make sure I wasn't hearing things, and sure enough, the headphones sounded as I expected them to sound on the HPA4. So something was happening in the headphone section of the SUR1000 that was causing a sort of thinness in the sound. I did run a few bench tests on the SUR1000 while I had it in my possession. If you are watching this review on the Secrets website, if you scroll down a little lower, you will run into the bench test section. If you are on YouTube, if you click the review link below the screen, it will take you to the review page on our website where you can scroll down and see the bench test results. So to sum it up, the Technics SUR1000 is a beautiful looking, fantastic sounding audio component. Full stop. Its quality look and feel bring me back to those teenage days of old where I spent too much of my time hanging out in hi-fi shops, lusting over quality Japanese hi-fi gear from Technics, Akai, Sansui, and the like. It's part of the same stuff that got me hooked on hi-fi in the first place. It gives me all those same feels, if you will. And no, this isn't Carlos midlife crisis talking. The elegant and frankly off-the-hook looks, at least to me, combined with the really ingenious technology innovations and superior sound quality, make the SUR1000 a component that, I would be incredibly proud to have, listen to, and display in my home. I've had tons of people come into my studio while the SUR1000 has been here and just, ooh and ah over the looks of it and comment on how stylish and just classy it looks. Play them some music after that, and it's like they start oohing and ahhing again over the sound. So it's a winner on a number of different fronts to a lot of people. Like any other high-class, high-quality product, the SUR1000 is a statement piece. It's art. Hence the almost $10,000 price tag. Yes, I had a couple of nitpicks with the SUR1000 in terms of a missing HDMI jack and the headphone performance. But they weren't really deal breakers for me in how I use this component, nor do I think they'll be for the majority of people who will buy it as well. A few years ago, when Technics came back as a brand, it was obvious that they couldn't survive on the reputation of just their turntables, or the commodity hi-fi that many Japanese brands had been reduced to when the company left the scene. No, they had to make a statement, and a big one. And judging by the first wave of really high-quality hi-fi gear that they released when they returned, they succeeded, and they really did make a statement. Now with the release of the SUR1000, Technics continues to make statements. It's a hell of a product. It really is. And so all I can say is, well done, Technics. Well done indeed. So if you like this video, please give us a like and subscribe to our Secrets of Home Theater and High Fidelity YouTube channel. Also, please frequent our website on a regular basis because we are constantly releasing new content and new reviews on various products. Yeah, and be sure to come back and check in on us again. And thanks so much for watching. Until next time, bye. Oh, that feels nice.